Hello and welcome to the Paul O'Connor podcast, where we'll be talking about the motor trade, entrepreneurship, business and beyond. David, Corbally, service staff, welcome.
Thank you.
Would you believe you were actually, I put up a TikTok video, short one, asking who do you want me to go down at, or what angle do you want me to go down, or who do you want me to talk to? And you were the most, someone commented your name under it, and you were the most liked comment, basically. So I think there was 28 different people that...
Sorry, phone on silent.
Yeah.
Do not disturb. There we go.
So a lot of people wanted to hear what you had to say, and
I don't know why.
I don't know why.
It still baffles me.
I know, yeah, but listen, you're doing well anyway. And I said I've only started coming across your stuff, and we'll touch on the social media stuff as we get along as well. But in the last 6 months or so, I've watched a lot of your videos, and they're very informative. As I was saying, my lads in the workshop love all your stuff. I always find when you talk or hear for other people's stories in motor trade or hear other people's opinions, it's nice to see other people that are all in the same boat and they're dealing with the same type of customers.
we all suffer the same.
We all suffer the same. So you talk to someone else in the motor trade, it's like therapy.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You're kind of like, yeah.
Or it digs you a deeper hole.
Yeah, it digs you a deeper hole. It's like, no. Oh yeah, you have a good story. I actually have a better story. Wait till you hear about this, like, and everything like that. So I suppose for the people that aren't familiar with what you do, give us a brief background into your business, and I suppose.
So I started out in 2011. I actually started years and years ago. I started with farm machinery. I worked with their plant farm machinery,
Really, yeah.
harvest machinery, yeah. And I moved across then into cars and vans and all that sort of stuff. Worked in the home business for a long time, but I was always good at fixing cars and fixing machinery, fixing stuff. And I like it. I enjoy it. I enjoy the people in it. And I opened my first garage in 2004. And
On your own, like, was it?
Yeah, on my own. And DC Auto Services. And I ran that for about 4 or 5 years. But I was good at fixing cars, but I wasn't good at the business end of it.
Yeah.
And I dug myself a nice big hole of debt. And
was this before like the recession? Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, and I closed it in 2007, late 2007, and I went working selling from diggers on plant.
Selling diggers.
Yeah,
that's a kind of a bit interesting pivot, like from kind of.
Well, I came from farm machinery.
Yeah.
So I love machinery. Like,
yeah.
Like I'd stop at a gate and look into a field as cutting silage, you know. But it's so I moved into that, and I worked with guys called. Derry Toomey and Kelvin O'Sullivan down in KK Traders in Glenmoire and Cork, and I learned an awful lot from them. They were top salesmen, like they could sell sand to the Arabs. And
so you have kind of sales experience as well, like
yeah. And I suppose I went in there as the general manager into their Dublin branch.
Yeah.
And I ran that, and then I suppose that gave me opened me up to running lads and running salesmen and service and all that sort of stuff. And I said, right, the recession came. We all got let go. That whole business collapsed.
Yeah.
And then went working for Finglas Ford because I was going for a mortgage at the time.
You went working like
just a mechanic.
As a mechanic, yeah.
And it's funny when I went for the interview, it was the only interview I ever had that I got a pay cut in because the recession was deep and we were in say at 30 grand a year, and when I came out I was on 28.5 with the job.
And was that the pay rate at the time for qualified mechanics? Yeah,
and that's all they were getting. And so worked there for 11 months, and then got me mortgage, got my house up, and started service stuff.
Was it because again I'm 36, but like I was in college during the recession, let's say for example. So I only really while I've been in business, I only know kind of the good times. I started in 2019, like you know what I mean. It's been pretty good times, like. How was it? What was it like starting a business kind of in the recession, do you think? Or what was...
Well, I suppose our business is good because you can't drive a broken car.
But that's exactly it. Like
That's the long and the short.
People mightn't change their car, but they have to get it fixed.
They have to get it fixed. That's and even if they don't get it serviced, they still have to get it fixed.
Yeah.
So I was at everything. I was fitting tractor tires, I was at tires, I was fixing cars, vans, small minibuses, all that sort of stuff. And I was on my own doing it. And Jill's dad came on board with me, and he worked in the office because my paperwork stuff would have been terrible at the time. And that's why my first business failed, because I didn't understand the business end.
You didn't understand the...
And
did you ever do is it Anthony Sava?
Yeah, Andy Sava.
Andy Sava, that's it. But he's like, and it's very true as well. Like I said, and there's a guy Joe Doyle as well. He does all for trades.
Yeah, I've seen Joe. Yeah.
But like, a lot of people are good at what they do, let's say, for example, but they're bad at the business end of it. Like,
So I can fix any car, and I'm not being cocky about it.
Yeah.
But it's just a machine.
It's a different skill set altogether to run a business.
To be able to charge enough money to make money and pay your overheads and pay yourself a good wage after fixing the car is a very different skill set.
Yeah, it is. Like,
and it's very difficult. And we get lads contacting us all the time now that are struggling in garages. They've loads of work.
They ring you for kind of advice, would they? Yeah.
It's because of TikTok.
Oh no, it is.
And,
I'm the same, right? My message would be flooded the whole time. People asking for advice. And again, I'm happy to do it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the more goodwill you put out there, the more kind of what goes around comes
That's
around.
right.
Then,
Yeah,
like,
and as well, I'd always try and help a fella.
Yeah, of course.
Like I'd often say to a fella, here, I do lives every week, and the guys come on and say, I'd ask them a question. And they'd ask a question about business. I say, look, that's not a question for here. Ring me, message me, I'll give you my number and we'll have a chat.
Yeah.
You know, because, and I say to a guy rang me recently, and himself and two other guys working, and he said he had a yard full of work and he was making no money. And he was running out of cash, and I says, are you owed money? He says, yeah, I'm owed about 40,000. I says, okay. And I says, how much are you charging out a day? But lads, that's hard to say.
It's hard to say.
But he was so entrenched in fixing cars that he wasn't getting paid for the work that the other lads were doing, because he was focused on customer shouting at him fixing cars, and it's an easy thing to fall into. And customers are very difficult now.
That was one of my questions as well, so we will get into that. But they are like,
but like, you have to be really strong. Like
you do, of course. Yeah.
Like one of the questions we'd ask when someone's booking something in for repair is, when do you expect this to be done? Or you know, people ring us for a price. They say, when do you expect this to be done? They say, I need it done next week, and we have nothing there for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So there's no point in us pricing it.
There's actually no point.
You know, and if you can't deal with that end of it, and that's the hardest bit to deal with, because cars are simple, they're logical.
Well, exactly, yeah. No, and you could do a lot of these things with your eyes closed to this.
That's right.
Say, like, but it's the business end of it. And,
where a customer adding pressure, and they have their own pressure, but they're adding pressure to you, and you're not able to say no. It's a huge problem.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's people like you. A lot of people they get, even in business, like even like they just get so caught up in being busy, right? And they run around like headless chickens. Like,
just stop.
It's like, hold on, relax. Come back, bring it back in for a second, like, and everything like that. But like you said, you need to focus on the business end of it. Like, there's a lot of very good tradesmen. There's a lot of very good this and that. Like I said, they're really good at their job. But like, you have to be a businessman to run a business.
But it's the same as selling cars. Like,
yeah.
No one will sell cars like you'll sell cars.
Yeah.
No offense, all right. But that's just the way it is. Like, and you have to go down, and you have to let a lad lose a deal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
To allow him to learn, to develop. And like, we have the same stuff in the garage. Like, I used to do all the technical jobs in the garage, and now I tend to sit back and let, like, there's 5 qualified guys in my place, and there's apprentices and all. So I sit back and let the qualified lads, there you go. And if they come to a problem, they come and say, struggling with this or whatever, and I'd say, well, what tests have you done? And then we work back on it, and then I'd say, well, what do you think you should do now?
Yeah. Well, no, but you
try that. Try that and come back to me. I might know the answer, but if you keep giving them the answer, you're never going to grow your business.
No, 100%. And what's your setup at the moment? You just said before we started recording, was it 17 staff you have?
Yeah. So
what's the breakdown of that 17?
There's 3 directors. Myself, Jill, my wife, and Damien, my business partner.
Okay.
We've 3 in the office. Had 2 now for the minute, but
just do like bookings, admin, all that kind of thing.
Bookings, front house, building jobs. Then Peter's our foreman. He basically runs if you think of a triangle between front of house, parts, and the workshop, he's in the middle there, just making all that work.
Yeah.
Because every time the mechanic turns around now, there's another job ready, you know. Or if there's a problem, they go to Peter. He deals with it, and then we've all the lads in the workshop.
How many mechanics do you have then?
So there's 5 qualified. There's phase 5, a couple of 3s, and then a couple of phase 1s.
You have a good few apprentices, yeah.
Yeah, we have to. But that's why there's no mechanics, is because people won't train apprentices.
That's it, like,
So like you can't fix a problem without fixing the problem.
Yeah, that's it. Apprentices do take time, like, you know what I mean. You have to give them time. We have one apprentice, but he's in phase like 6 or 10.
But you need apprentices coming through all the time. And like, I'm actually going back next week, and I'm going to sit down. And one of the things I do is I look at I'm responsible for resourcing the place, and that's both equipment and people, right? So building the team all the time is really important. But I need another phase 5 apprentice to fill a gap.
to fill a gap. Like,
because I should have 2 coming through all the time in each phase.
and do you generally, do the lads when they qualify, do they tend to stay on with you then, or do they leave? Or
Some leave, some stay. As I say, it just depends on the guys. But we find that guys, if you don't have something to give them after their apprenticeship, they don't last.
Yeah.
You know, and like we're working with like MKW there now. We're trying to get more training programs going so we can get a lad onto a diagnostic tech program or whatever to so he comes out of his apprenticeship and he's into a diagnostic tech 6 months later, and then that takes maybe 2 years, and then maybe into a master tech after that. But we have to keep encouraging them and bringing them on, you know.
Yeah, that's it.
But they also have to come on financially.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because if they don't, they won't stay.
Yeah.
Stay, you know?
Have you had much trouble so far, like, I suppose, getting staff, like, or?
No, because we pay.
Yeah. But you have to, though, don't you?
As I say, and we're pretty good at team building, like in terms of, like, we're very close to each other. We've a good bunch of guys, and they're all very good at what they do. So there's a want for people to come in, and that attracts, like, guys come out of a dealer, and that attracts other guys into the business. You know, because they say, oh, this is actually a really good environment, and they come in and work.
Because I know from experience in the motor trade over years, there's some, like, main dealer setups, like they have there's a poor, let's say, a poor culture now and a poor environment kind of in there in terms of, like, just even the atmosphere just wouldn't be good. Like, a lot of independent dealers now, they're getting a lot of the good staff. I find anyway, and it's
like, so what we have found is if you actually treat people like humans,
who would have thought it?
That's a really good starting point. You know,
but you have to, and the market has changed a lot. Like, I know you should always be treating people well, but, like, people have such choice nowadays when it comes to jobs. Like, you know, mechanics,
right.
Christ above, like, of all the any trades that will walk into another job, they'll walk into a different industry. You have to look after people. Like, do you know what I mean?
Right. And the environment has to be right too. Like, we see guys and they come to us and they're like, whether it be from a dealer or an independent, and they're getting given out to because they can't fix a car. But then when you dig into it, they haven't got the right tooling to fix the car.
Yeah.
Like, we would have main dealer tools. We'd everything we need. If I need it, I'll pick up the phone and buy it.
Yeah.
Right. That's just the way it is. If I have to borrow it more than once, we buy it. And then they come from places and they expect to be fixing cars without the equipment to fix it. It's like you trying to sell stock without having stock.
Yeah. No,
like, it's never going to happen.
It doesn't work like that.
No,
like,
it doesn't. No. And it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. And if we don't treat it as an industry, like, Service Stop won't fix this, but if we don't do this as an industry, it's never going to improve.
And because it's a very valid point, like, what needs to be done, I suppose, in general, to get more, like, first of all, okay, I'll start with another question. Is the motor trade a good place for someone to get into at the moment, do you think?
I think the motor trade is a great place.
Well, I also do too, obviously, because we're both in it and all that.
But if you think about it, like, I can hardly read. I'm really badly dyslexic.
Yeah.
Right? I have gone from being a technician to being an engineer. I'm a qualified engineer. Now I own my own business with a big crew of people and we're making money. That's, like, there's so many opportunities.
There
like,
isn't.
You have front of house, reception, parts, sales, like, there's so many. You can go from being a 16-year-old apprentice now, if you want, to being qualified at 20 or 21, and you can go from earning 200 quid a week to 40 grand in 4 years.
In 4 years, yeah.
At 21 years of age.
And then do a bit of jobs at the weekend as well if you want. Like,
that's right, yeah.
It's an unbelievable career for Nixers and things like that. Like, you know, and if you work hard, like, you know, there's so much opportunity. Like,
that's right. And
you have a bit of graft about you. Like, a lot of lads don't have graft about them. That's the thing.
But it's like everything. Like, the harder you work, the luckier you get. You know, so.
That's a good saying, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
No. And what in your business now, is it a lot of do you do work? I'm actually just genuinely curious. Do you do work for kind of just retail customers, or do you do a lot of trade work for other, like, car sales places?
We do almost zero trade work.
Any reason for that, or just?
Well, some of it's because they don't want to pay the price we charge. Like, so we're at €90 an hour plus.
Yeah,
right.
I'd say that would be pretty standard in Dublin, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and, like, it goes from 90 to nearly €200 an hour in Dublin, depending on where you are.
So you wouldn't be badly priced at all at that then?
No, we're not. But we can fix your car.
Yeah, the average around here is 70 to 80 an hour, like, but like for Dublin, like, I would expect at least to be 90 or 100 an hour, like, you know.
I would say.
And especially if you're paying your lads well, which I'm sure you do, as you said, like, you know, you have to, you know.
And the other thing is being able to fix the car. Garages don't understand that. That's a really important part. Like, spending time on a car that you don't know how to fix.
Yeah.
is a definition of madness, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you could have, I seen, we'd one in recently, an EGR problem.
Yeah.
And someone else had changed the EGR.
Yeah.
But there was no power at the EGR valve. So you could have put 100 EGRs on it.
It was absolutely pointless.
And there was only 5 wires on it, right? Now you have to know.
Was it a wiring issue or something? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a broken wire.
Yeah.
Broken power wire. Right? And there was no power at the EGR.
So keep replacing the EGR altogether. Like,
but
you're fixing the wrong problem. Like, you're not even.
That customer had gone to another garage, and nothing wrong with the other garage, but they worked outside of their skill set. And what happened was, they paid them nearly $1,000.
Then they have to pay you.
And then they come and then they give out to us because we're charging them £400-500 to fix the car. But the car's fixed now.
Yeah.
And I said, like, go back and get your old EGR because it's probably okay.
Yeah.
You know, and but they just, no matter what they done, there was no power to EGR. So
that comes with experience and just having good staff, like having lads that know
and good training.
But see, a lot of places I know I've said main dealers a couple times, but it's not just them. Like, but there's some garages, there's like a conveyor belt of lads that work there. And how can you get good at a particular, or maybe good at a particular brand even, or a particular type of car when you've new lads in there the whole time?
And that's a really good point, because I often say this now. So when I was back training years and years ago, an apprentice started with a dealer or wherever, and he stayed there for 4 or 5 years. And he actually became an expert in that 4 or 5
in whatever
years. In the brand,
in whatever brand it was
they were at, right? And now what happens is an apprentice goes to you, and then he moves to the lad down the road, and then a year and a half after that he moves somewhere else, and he could be in 3, maybe 4 places within his apprenticeship. So he's actually no good at anything, and that's what happens.
Yeah,
they need to commit and become. Like, there's no doctor ever became an expert by trying different.
You have to specialise in.
You have to specialise and learn how to do your trade properly. Because then once you learn the systems and learn how things work, it's actually, that's on all cars. But you have to have a fundamental understanding.
No, you do. And in your garage, is there a particular type of brands that you favour working on, or would you say, there's some places say, oh, we're Volkswagen specialists, we're this.
Yeah,
and that.
so we're not a specialist as such, right? But we do like Volkswagen, Audi, say it's Skoda. We like BMW. We like Mercedes. We do a lot of Renault fans. We do like 50% of our business is fleet, so we do a lot of Renault fans. We do a lot of Mercedes vans. But when we tool up for all that stuff, so like we have full Otis, which is the VAG tool, right?
Yeah.
We have full BMW AOS. We have full Mercedes entry. Like
none of these things are cheap.
No, and we have full Land Rover. Even though we don't advertise it, we have full Ford diagnostics. So when we go to do a job, we can do that job from start to finish. It doesn't have to go anywhere else, ever. We don't have to remote access into it. And that just gives you that edge. But I wouldn't say we're a specialist.
Yeah.
Because a specialist to me is pick BMW, know everything there is to know about that, use every tool that BMW use, and that's how you...
Yeah.
And compete with the dealer.
Well, that's it. Like you're competing with the main dealer, and like you're going to do well now to compete with the exact same diagnostic and all equipment that, like, say, a BMW main dealer will have. They will have like hundreds of grand's worth of fucking.
That's right, but you can't. Well, we have hundreds of grand's worth of gear, but you can't substitute the fact that my lads work on multiple vehicles, right? So if you have a specialist that works on the one brand all the time, like I worked in Finglas Ford, and all I worked on was Transits. I'd know driving into the workshop. The most things that's wrong with that van. Yeah. But just driving over the speed bumps and stuff. you know, because you'd feel it and you feel the steering. Because you become a product expert. You know, like we would be product expert in Mercedes Sprinters or Renault Masters. Because we do so many of them. Any of our lads can pick one up and they can go through that van and they will be right at the end of it. Yeah. You know, that's just, but you have to invest.
Is there any type of cars you won't work on?
Land Rovers. We will.
What about Mazda's 2.2 Sky Actives?
Yeah, we do a few of them. If we've maintained them from you, we'll look after them.
Yeah. Is it just all Land Rovers you don't work on? Like, would you?
No,
like obviously the 2 litre
Ingenium.
That's
when I say we won't work on Land Rovers, that's not entirely true, right? We will carry out diagnostic testing on Land Rover, but even on a 2 litre Ingenium. Yeah. But we will not. We wouldn't even drain the oil out of one.
Why? But the Ingenium now, well, that's because they're awful. Like,
well,
what about?
It's like pulling a pin out of a grenade and passing it around the workshop. That's what it is. They're so bad. They can't.
Are they? Because you're a mechanic. Like, are they actually that bad?
They're the worst
All Land Rovers now.
No,
just
that
the
that 2 litre
the Ingenium. Oh no, they're absolutely abysmal. We all know that.
Yeah,
like,
and it's like,
but they really are bad.
Land Rover makes a lovely product, but they're a big money item every year to maintain.
They are. Yeah.
You need, like, if you were to put a new engine in an Ingenium, it's 18 to 20,000.
Are they that much?
That's for a new one.
A new one.
The way the dealer would do it. That's what you're talking about. If, like, there's guys doing them for 6 to 10 grand now. But I have one customer, and he's a friend of mine, and he has 17 Discovery 5 with a 2 litre Ingenium, 150,000 kilometers on his third engine. So he gets an engine every second service. So if you had 10 grand to put into an engine every second service,
isn't it mad how
shocking?
Like
they got away with it.
They did, like it's only really in the last, I think, when did they come out? Maybe 15, 16 or so, was it?
I think it was about 15 or 16.
Yeah. But it's only really been iPhone, because I used to bring in Jags from the UK now in 2020, even 2021, I think, and I was bringing them in because they're a bit of good value, and I retail definitely 10 or 12 of them. A big bother with 2 or 3 of them now, all right.
And they robbed all the profit from the 10 or 12.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, but there are never ending like pit, right? Once you won, and you think you'll do something, then we won Jag that was in stock. We had it in stock about a year. We hadn't even sold it. There was just one problem after another. We couldn't even get it running. Like, it was just awful. But it's mad how one engine can actually. Same with the Sky Active Mazdas, right? It's one engine that's almost ruined the brand, because Mazda petrols are very good cars.
That's
like,
right.
do you know what I mean? They're really good, and they're bulletproof, and they have been over the years. But that Ingenium engine in particular has just, and I feel so bad for people that have bought them. You know, what do you do? You can't scrap them, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I feel sorry, and it's the same. We see it with electric cars now as well. You know, a guy buying a 20 grand car and then up with a 10 grand bill for repairs.
Yeah,
they don't have it. The 20 grand car customer, no disrespect to them.
So of course they don't.
They don't have that sort of.
And this is what electric cars you're saying.
But this is the likes of an Ingenium. Like, there's loads of people think they're buying up into a Discovery Sport. You know, they're getting it off with premium car, but it's not a premium car. It's scrap. It's going to bite you.
It genuinely is, and I find as well. I'm just coming from, I suppose, even the sales point of view. We could sell. Let's say you sell an Ingenium engine with a 6 months warranty, right? An Ingenium engine car with a 6 months warranty. If they a year later, let's say, so they're 6 months out of warranty, if the engine's gone and they have an 8 grand bill, they will be back to you.
Oh, they will, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I get that, because they don't have the money for that. And it's like, maybe they mightn't expect you to cover all the costs, but geez, they're certainly hoping you'll help them out in some way.
Yeah.
It's like, people are fucked.
And you might have only 3 grand in that car.
Oh yeah, no, like you're losing money. So it's like, you're almost like, we've had a few of them, like you're kind of stuck with them for the life cycle they're on the road, because when they go to trade them in somewhere else now, with these days, no one will take them, right? So then they'll be back to you again. And then you can't trade them off to anyone else. So you're just like,
it's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very tough. Like,
but like if you put an engine in any modern car now, it's 10 grand.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It's 10 grand.
Have you? And again, this is another area I want to get into as well. But like, have you found like modern cars they're giving more bother than before? Because I'd be a pessimist sometimes, because I see our warranty bills now, and we're spending more on warranty than ever before, like for a variety of reasons. Like, but is it just the lack of maintenance people are doing on them, or is the cars?
So the manufacturer's recommendations for service intervals are mad.
They're way too high, aren't they? They're like 30,000 kilometers.
We would tell customers between 10 and 15,000 kilometers you should change your oil.
100%.
Because the compression ratios are much higher, the pressures within the engine are much higher, the emission controls are much higher. So all this is affecting the running of the car. If you go to America, they change their oil every 3 to 5,000 kilometers or miles.
They should do, but you see them. Oh, it's not due a service for 30,000 kilometers. It's like, you shouldn't be servicing a car every 30,000 kilometers.
And people think you don't have to pull the dipstick for 30,000.
They wouldn't even look at it, like.
Yeah. And
so is I think, do the manufacturers do it? Is it a kind of a selling point? Like, oh, you only have to do the time belt every 10 years in this car, but the time belt will be hanging out of it, and the water pump will be leaking after 5 years. Yeah. Like, so you'd have to do them anyway. Like,
we done a time belt on a Volkswagen Golf yesterday, 1.6, and I've never seen a time belt get past, or a water pump get past 5 years on them. They leak. They leak. That's very common, and but they've moved the interval to 210,000.
That's ridiculous.
But at 210,000, if the engine blows in that car, there's a good chance they're going to go off and buy a new car. So it doesn't matter to the manufacturer.
No, of course they didn't know.
You know, all the intervals. I see vans there, like Renault vans, and they're doing €40,000 intervals. So there's 5 oil changes at 200,000.
40,000, like, so that's
Like they can't, and then they wonder. Then you have problems in the meantime, and Yokas blocked EGR coolers, block secondary EGR coolers, blocked inlet manifolds,
and that's brought on by lack of service.
Lack of service, build up carbon over time. Yeah. As I say, and like the oil has carbon and everything. The emissions, like as the oil degrades over to that period, sure, it's going to create problems.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, and like obviously modern cars, any system that's been brought into modern cars to bring down emissions, really, since Euro 6 onwards, like it has, they are, all those systems are incredibly unreliable, like, aren't they?
They're incredibly unreliable, and then you'd have to question, like the biggest breakdowns that we see in modern diesel engines is emission related systems.
But they're emission related systems,
right?
Like
Whether it be AdBlue, DPF, EGR, all them. And what we find is we often have the conversation where, like, is this really environmentally friendly? Because now we're taking out a 3-year-old part, we're replacing it, they're manufacturing a new one, we're putting it in, and in 3 years' time we're going to replace it again. like the Volkswagen 2-litre secondary EGR cooler, perfect example. 3 years. That's the lifespan. 3 years, and it's an 8-hour job.
how much is the job?
About 12 or 1500. Bonkers.
Years ago, like there'd be very few jobs that would land you into 4 figures or more. Like, you know, unless the engine went, maybe in 2 or 3 grand years ago, right? But there was nothing else was going to cost you in the thousands. But now there's so many things that could cost you in the thousands.
If you get a car now, when you do a full service, pads and this all around, wipers, polyfilters, the whole lot, you're probably into £1,000 or the best part.
Oh, you are, yeah.
You know, if you're using good quality stuff. Now,
you get that, but because that's maintenance. That's you know, it's wear and tear items that will obviously have to be replaced in any car. But when there's actually just problems with the car, like you said, the EGR thing with €1,200-1,500, like that's a massive additional expense on top of your tires and your brakes. Yeah. You expect tires and brakes. I think most people do service, and it's like, fair enough, yeah. But when you just have actual problems you need to fix as well.
I'd always say to people now when they buy a new car, you know, whether it be a second-hand car or a new car, I'd say to them, put 150, 200 quid a month away for maintenance.
It's true though.
You might need it this year, you might need it next year, but you are going to need it if you're going to keep that car long term, and you need to get it serviced every year at a minimum, or every 10 to 15,000 kilometers.
People don't do that though, like, and a lot of people they even buy cars off us and they'd say, oh look, the car is 400 a month in finance or 500 a month in finance. They can afford that, but they can't afford anything else that's on top of it, right?
Yeah, it's mad.
Oh, I want an Audi. Oh, I want a Beamer. And look, they're grown adults. They make their own decisions. Fair enough. Like, we're not going to tell them, no, you can't buy the car. But like, then when something goes wrong with it and they're out of warranty, they can't afford it. They look at trading it in 2 or 3 years' time, and the thing is barely been in a workshop since we sold it, like, and it needs $2,000 worth of prep. And then they're wondering why their trading price is a bit lower than they want then as well.
We're seeing some of that now with second-hand EVs coming into us, where they've been bought and they've been driven for 3-4 years now. No maintenance. Haven't even seen the inside. No, they've gone well and they've been a really cheap car for the first owner. Yeah. But no maintenance. And then they have a problem and they go for warranty. And there's no warranty because there's been 4 years and that car hasn't been maintained. And now you have a problem.
Yeah, of course you do.
You know.
So on EVs now, do you do much work on them?
Yeah, we'd have constant flow stuff through the workshop now.
What kind of equipment do you need for that? Like, what kind of tools?
We
don't.
Really a lot of the tools the same. We have some specialist equipment, all right, but a lot of the tools the same. Obviously, there's safety equipment. Needs like high voltage gloves, mats, all that sort of stuff. But in terms of like, there's still nuts and bolts. Taking the apart.
I'd imagine that because I suppose there's still a lot of the same. Like, again, there's still a lot of the same parts in terms of suspension, in terms of this and that. Like, but it's just.
But what we find with them is that you take one in with a problem, you do an initial assessment, say an hour, maybe 2 hours, and at that point, then it's either going to go nuclear on you, or it's fixed, right? If it goes nuclear, it gets very expensive very quick. We done the last Nissan Leaf.
Nissan Leaf, yeah. They're old now. That's the problem.
But there's an older one with a charging module. The charging module was like $4,000. And at the time,
people buying Nissan Leafs don't have that.
No,
generally speaking, they're not an expensive car. Like.
But it was a $5,000 car. But it was a $0 car without the charging module working.
That's it, like, yeah.
It wasn't worth any money.
And in general, like, I suppose I know it's a very broad question, but like, there's a lot of kind of misinformation, or I would argue a bit of misinformation around electric vehicles and things like that. I think my biggest fear for selling them is the value uncertainty on them and how they can tank and depreciation, things like that. But in terms of actually you coming from the mechanical end of things, like, what do you think of them? Like,
I think they're very reliable.
But that's a good, because
they are generally very reliable. But we recently, just before Christmas, I done a video on a Model 3 Tesla we had, and a guy bought it in Galway. He drove it to Dublin and says, had to charge it halfway, which a Model 3 is well capable of going from Dublin to Galway. And he was getting less and less range, and then we plugged it in and we've done a diagnostic.
They're way less in the cold weather now, as I learned.
And it needs a battery. But there's no repair. I know there's guys in Czech or whatever, EV clinic, I think you can follow them on TikTok or whatever, but they are repairing them in Eastern Europe. But at this point, there's no repair in Ireland, and there's no insurer
for Teslas now, or just
for the battery.
For the battery,
so Tesla, there is a repair. Tesla will sell you a new battery.
How much is that?
About 12,000, I think it was. But that's only for the battery. You still have to put it in and out. All that. So it's probably a 15 grand bill.
I think that, like, I know you say that they're, it's like people have, like, I know that they're reliable, but, like, no one wants to risk something that it could possibly be, like, remortgage the house to fucking to repair it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, 15 grand is crazy. That could
mentally break someone.
But let's say for example, right, you buy the Tesla, you on finance, for example, and you have a mortgage as well, right? You mightn't even get a loan for the 15 grand. If you need it, you will probably need a loan to fix it, right? Yeah. You mightn't even get it because you will have enough loans, for example. Like I think that's the biggest issue at the moment, and it's not just electric cars. It's just the risk of a massive, like, life changing, and this can be for some people. Something going wrong with it is very scary, like, for some people, isn't it? Like, and is that going to get any better? Like, I suppose,
like, it's taken 100 years to get cars to where they are.
That's a good point, yeah.
Right, and it's going to take a long time to get infrastructure. Now, people talk about hydrogen and all this, but it all brings new problems, right? And lack of options. So, like, we've loads of options with an ICE car. Like, you can pull an ICE car. I don't know who the engine builder is down here, but I guarantee you within 50 kilometres of here, there's a good engine builder.
Yeah, there's a couple around.
You can pull an engine out, send it up to him, and when you get it back, it's a couple of grand back in your car, less than 7 grand probably.
Yeah,
fixed. There's not a lot of options for people with electric cars. And, like, we see stuff coming into us, and we look at it, and the customer mightn't have enough money to get to the point where we say, that's what's wrong. Let alone fix it with an electric. Because if you go, Ed China done a video on YouTube about fixing a Nissan Leaf battery. Yeah. And he done it in Oaksbridge in the Bosch Centre, right? But he made it look really simple and easy. And technically it is simple and easy. But he didn't tell anyone how long it takes. And the training and the equipment and everything you had to do.
Colossal, I'd say.
So when you do your initial testing, and then you're saying, okay, now we have to drop the battery. So to drop the battery out of the car is probably a 4-hour job. Now we have to take the top off it without wrecking the top. Now that's probably another 2-hour job. Now it's 6 hours before we start testing again. So now you're into probably a 10, 12-hour diagnosis just to get into the battery pack. And that all has to be paid for. That's...
It obviously has to be, like,
it's like, but you as a car dealer, if you sell it, you're sucking that up maybe, or the poor consumer sucking it up.
Yeah.
It just... The system isn't right yet.
The system isn't right, and
it'll come. It will.
It'll come. I was saying, like, the cost of parts has gone so colossal now. Like, even like a headlight and just a modern beam or something, like, with 3-4 grand and all that. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like I said, that's not sustainable. It's like,
and then it won't work when you put it in because it has to be programmed.
You have to program it. Like, I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Like, and it's just there has to be a way around it, because what it'll get to, even with electric cars, it'll get to a point where there'll be regularly cars. There won't be any cheap cars anymore, because it will never get to a point where a car is worth 2 or 3 grand, because it'll just get wrote off when it has a big problem when it's worth 10 grand.
That's right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
that's what's going to happen.
It is what's going to happen, unless things change. Now,
but I suppose the association between the value of the vehicle and the cost of the repair the perception on that needs to change. Because what's the car for? Is it like a handbag for you?
Yeah.
Or is it actually a functional object? And, like, maybe 10 grand would fix a 10 grand car. But if you have a 10 grand car with a 10 grand problem, you have a zero value car.
Yeah.
Right? And now you're probably going to have to spend 20 to 30 grand to get something equivalent to it.
Well, yeah, that's true, I suppose, yeah.
You know, so, but people go, sure, the car's not worth that. But then, they can get 600 quid a month. to pay for a 30 grand car, which in 3 years' time is going to be in the same position probably.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know. I'm not sure what the future holds with it. Like,
I don't
always
know.
think like there was kind of a some Chinese manufacturer for a lot of spurious, perfectly cheap parts or something like that. Like there has to be something.
I think the future has to be garages like us that are in the repair space, doing R&D, figuring out repairs for these systems, creating systems of repair that doesn't rely on the manufacturer. Because what that'll do,
But that's it. Like I think so as well. Like.
And what that'll do is that'll open up competition, more competition in the market, and that'll lower the price for the end user over time.
I think so.
Like any competition.
Because like my theory, I don't know how true it is or not. Like, but like I think it is probably fairly true. I think cars nowadays they're meant to be fairly unreliable, for want of a better word, right? And my theory behind it is like, say for example, back in the 90s, right? You buy a Toyota Start at 1997, right? You buy it, and that's Toyota will make money off you once, and they'll sell it, and you'll go off and you'll drive off. And they'll never hear from you again because it's not going to give any bother, and you can get it serviced locally and everything like that. And you might keep the car for 10 or 12 years. Whereas now everything is just done to a case where it's just pushing on a better change, or it's back for a $4,000 warranty thing, or it's back for fucking massive part bills and everything like that. Now, I don't know, is it done deliberately? And it's partly maybe it's by design, but also there's so many things in cars that can go wrong now. There's so many different components.
Yeah, and the consumer has changed now too, though. Like the consumer,
there's a lot of keeping up with the Joneses and all that.
And the consumer buys a 40 grand car now and thinks that they don't have to do anything for 3 or 4 years. they think that, and they get probably say first service in year one at less than 20,000 kilometers, probably a couple of €100.
Yeah.
The next service now you're into 500 to 1,000 euros. So, but they're saying, oh well, the PCP is up in 3 years' time. I'll just flip it.
Yeah.
So, and now they're 2.5 grand in their pocket to go towards the new one. But it's the next poor fella who gets that car.
Well, yeah, that's it. Someone has to pay for it at some stage.
Yeah, like we've seen this with electric cars coming in from the UK, where they've come in, they've never been serviced, as I said, and then they have a problem and they've no warranty.
You'd be buying a yoke thinking you'd have others, like, so a lot of them have 7 or 8 years warranty on the batteries and things like that, like, and you'd be saying, oh geez, there's 3 years warranty left in the battery. Oh, do you really though?
Yeah.
You know?
So you need to check. Does it have a service history? Was it serviced in time? Like if you go 12 or 1,500
and do they have to be serviced with the main dealer for electric cars? No,
but they have to have a service record.
Okay.
Like anyone.
Yeah.
So the block exemption in Europe still covers them, but they have to be serviced. You have the right to have your car serviced anywhere you want.
What does a service entail, generally speaking, a full service on an electric car? I know there's fluids.
There's fluids and stuff. There's different. You'd have to look at the different cars will have different stuff. So if you look at the manufacturer, will tell you what it needs at year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. But they're not that expensive to service.
Yeah.
So it's sort of madness, not.
Which out of the electric cars that are currently on the market, which do you feel is a good one? Let's say, for example, or what manufacturer is doing them well at the moment?
Volkswagen is doing very well. The ID series is a nice car. They seem to be pretty reliable. There's a lot of ID4s on the market.
There's a lot. You see them on the road the whole time. ID3s, ID4s.
BMW makes a good, and they're repairable.
Yeah.
Right. So like if you have a module fail in a BMW or a Volkswagen, it can be replaced. You can't replace the cell in one single cell.
Yeah.
But you can replace a module. Where if you say you had a Tesla Model 3 or even a BYD or any of the Chinese stuff, I don't know of any Chinese stuff yet. Now I could be wrong, but I don't know of any yet that are offering module replacement.
Yeah, well, the Beamers do definitely.
Yeah, Beamers definitely. We repair a good few.
Yeah, my missus has a iX3 BMW. Okay, when you have a business, it makes sense from electric cars, BIK, and all that kind of thing. Like so, I think it's a lovely car. So it's great to be fair. Like we haven't. She only has it in a couple of months now, but it's been excellent. The range isn't that great now. I would say like,
but it's probably okay for what she's doing.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Like yeah. And I think it is even getting a bit better now in the last couple of months as the weather gets a bit warmer.
Yes.
Like they really do go down in the cold weather.
Yeah, well, it's chemical reaction and it needs an optimum heat. It's like a DPF. It needs a certain temperature to work properly, and that's just what it is.
But you can't plug it in, charge it and get a couple of days, you drive it for the week and everything like that.
And you have solar in the house?
I don't have solar. I have a charge point now. I don't have solar now, but I should like. But sometimes I bring it down here and I have a fast charger here and everything like that. Like, but
it's very cheap.
It makes sense. It is also good. Like I have a hybrid X5 as my own car, like so that's. But I think in a household, it's good to have like a petrol or diesel car with it.
Options,
just for you going a longer spin. Like sometimes, like even like would you get up and down to Dublin Airport from here with it? with electric.
You would during the summer, I'd say.
During the summer you would, like, but it'd be touch and go. But like, you know, sometimes you're going longer spin, it's like, just so not to have range anxiety, we'll bring my yoke. Like, but in general, like they will tick a lot of boxes for people, and I think.
But like at the minute, it's very cheap to own an electric car if you can charge it off your house.
Oh no, it would be a no-brainer now.
If you have solar, it's even cheaper.
Yeah.
Right. Relatively low maintenance, relatively low, almost zero fuel costs in comparison to.
Well, especially if you solar, like
it's very cheap. And what it'll do is if you have a house and you're putting solar on it, by buying an electric car, it'll actually make your solar much cheaper.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get the benefit of the car, and bi-directional stuff now as well with them, where you can plug that iX3 in, you can get a plug for that, and you can plug it into your house when you have no power. Like that's genius stuff.
Can you?
Yeah, as far as I know, the iX3 can do that. Yeah. Yes. That technology's there, but I think there's loads of fear about it. But the fear is the unknown, like everything else. It
is the fear of the unknown. For me, it's the. As I mentioned already, like it was the sharp depreciation that kind of core with them, and like, you know, like the iX3 is, like, being honest, like I think they were 75-80 grand new. Like it's 232 reg. I brought it in from the UK. It was mid-40s, I think I paid for it. But it's a great car at 18 months old car, and saving 60% of the. Approximately of the new price, like it's a cracking deal at that.
But that's probably where the new one should be priced.
No, it should be like it would. Yeah. But like if you bought one, I wouldn't buy one new now. To be fair, right? But I think if you buy, I won't say that. Like you could buy a new electric car, right? But what happens? The big problem with electric cars is people, and we see it the whole time. They're coming into us with a 1-year-old electric car. Oh no, I want to change. I want to trade in and buy one a year older. And I was like, no, you're going to lose your shirt, like, do you know what I mean? Because used EV prices, especially after the first year or two, they do drop sharply, like, do you know what I mean?
I spoke to a customer yesterday. He has bought an ID5, a 2-year-old ID5, and he paid 37 grand for it.
37? What are they new? They're big money.
They're 60, 65 grand, yeah.
But they're an excellent buy in the used market, I think.
That was great value.
Do you know? It is like, yeah. And I think this year now, I could be wrong now, but I think this year, I think people are kind of started coming around to them a little bit more. Like I think the sales are up this year and everything that as well. And I think it's just like it is the fear of the unknown for some people. Like, but.
And people are changing cars because there's loads of fleets changing cars. Like if you think the electric thing is really big in fleet now, because companies are saying we need to show we're green or whatever. Is
it kind of just to be seen to be green, or is it from an actual functional point of view? Like
I think a lot of it's seen to be green. Actually, it was very funny the other day. We guy come into the garage and it was an i4 for a service, and he got into one of our cars to take away, and he's like, "Am I doing something wrong? I'm pressing the clutch and putting it in gear, right?" And he says, I said that you just have to start it.
Oh, yeah.
But he was so used to just being
the silent sound.
So he gets in with the key in his pocket.
Yeah.
And the car recognises it, and he hits it into drive, and off he goes. And I was like, and he was like, I'm really embarrassed. And I was like, God, is there going to be a clutch in this when he comes back?
Yeah.
But that's the way people. That's how quick people change. So like he loves it. He says like, never go back. But that car, where I see a problem now as well, is you're going to get a lot of them cars that's been fast charged up and down the country, which isn't good for battery health. You know,
the fast chargers that'll be in like the fuel petrol stations.
Yeah, you know, the
real high ones. Yeah. I would think they wouldn't be good for them.
No, heat is the enemy of a battery.
Yeah.
And what happens is the more amps you pump in, the more heat generates quickly. Yeah. The harder the air conditioning system or the cooling system has to work to control the temperature of that battery, and it's going to damage cells over time.
But see, is you saying things like that, like, when people hear something like that, they're like, no, I wouldn't be able to deal with this now. I won't buy one.
Yeah,
because it's the unknown. No, you're right in saying that. Yeah. But like it's like the unknown for people, isn't it? Like as well, like I'll stick to my petrol or diesel there. I'll stick to my old diesel Corolla.
But it's hard to beat it. I jumped in. I have a Volkswagen Caddy van out there. I love the yoke. There's 310,000 kilometers on it. I drove it down here. It uses a sup of diesel. Not a bother on it, you know. And it's hard to walk away. And I could head for Cork now and back up to Cork Road if I want.
Yeah.
And I won't have to fill before I get back to Dublin.
Yeah, but that's it. Like, you know, it's for me, like, I would still, for my own personal car, I would still prefer petrol or diesel. I've nothing wrong with electric cars; they're fine and everything like that. Like, and I said, I can see as a second car in a household. Certainly, I said they do make sense. And then I said,
and there will be more.
If you can avail of cheap BIK, for example,
yes,
great. Like, you know, but there's benefits to it as well. Like so,
but there will be more garages will embrace it because they have to embrace it. Because if they don't embrace it, they won't be fixing cars.
We sold one, a Q4 e-tron.
Oh, good, that's good.
Yeah, not that long ago. It was actually a guy I know. He had it, and he was like, "Look, I know you won't buy it off me, but do you want to just put it in your garage, and I'm not using it." I said, "Look, if whatever when you sell it, just give me the money for it and take your cut from it, that kind of thing." And I said, "Yeah, grand, fair enough. Sure, what's the risk? Like none." I said, "Put it up there." Honestly, we'd sold it in about 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. Oh, there's no demand for them.
Yeah.
But it was probably very good value though.
No, it was. Oh no, it was like it was it 2 years old? 2 years old. It was 65 odd grand new, and it was a Q4 e-tron. Yeah, 65 grand new, and we sold it for 40 I think.
Cheap car.
40 40 grand I think it was. And it's like a massive loss obviously in the first 2 years, but like a good car at that. Like there was low mileage.
But every car's a massive loss now.
Yeah, it is, like, to be fair, like,
you know, and because the cost of fixing them now, the margins have to be much higher. We know warranty companies aren't great for covering stuff, so you're carrying the can really yourself as a garage or a salesperson, and so you have to buy much cheaper than you're selling it. That's just the way it is. Otherwise, you're gambling.
Oh no, like,
and I'm not a gambler.
No, I'm not a gambler either.
No.
But we did a podcast on it the other day, but it didn't record, did it?
The audio wasn't great on it.
No, the audio wasn't great, no. But we were just saying, like, of the margins that were required when we were selling cars, there needs to be much higher now than they were before.
Oh, yeah.
For, obviously, all my business overheads are gone up, my wages are gone up, this and that, but also, like, the work that's needed, the prep costs on them are gone through the fucking roof, like, because people aren't maintaining them, one, and also the costs of obviously parts and actually fixing them are gone up as well, like, but people really aren't fucking looking after them.
And the other thing people aren't looking at is, like, they look at second-hand car sales, right? The second-hand car sales used to be at the back of the house or in an out yard somewhere with grass growing up through the stones. Now they want to walk into a clean showroom.
Oh, yeah.
Be greeted by people that look well and can speak well and understand it, have the knowledge, and all the trimmings to go with it. And all that costs money.
All costs money, yeah.
You know, and we see it, as I say, the garage. Like, we spend, like, we replaced a press there the other day, you know, for pressing out wheel rest. And the other one, the guys from Seals went in it. And I just picked up the phone. I have it 10 years. I just picked up the phone. Ordered a new one. $3,000 gone. Right. Then then there was another. We got rid of our gas bottles because the insurance doesn't want gas bottles. So I need something to produce heat. So we bought an induction heater.
Yeah.
$3,000.
Everything is in thousands, isn't
right,
it?
thousands. And that's just how the garage business has gone. But that all has to be recouped. And in recouped and made profitable and go back into the pot. And that's going to drive costs. And cars are going to be expensive. Service is going to be expensive. That's how it is.
Yeah, it's very true though, isn't it? Like, you know, and it's the costs of, like, have you found the cost of doing business in general, like, in the last, have your overheads gone up much?
Oh, yeah. Like there are places hundreds of euros an hour to run.
It would be, of course, like,
but it keeps going up. There's no, I've never seen anything go down. Like, we've never had an insurance claim. Right? No, touch wood, no accidents, nothing. We you know, when a lad messes something up, we just suck it up and just fix it.
Yeah.
You don't bother claiming off defective workmanship or anything like that. So we've never had an insurance claim. Now, we have grown, but our insurance policy steadily has risen year on year.
Yeah.
Just for one. Rent, rates, electricity. You know, like, electricity in our place is like 1,500 quid a month. Yeah. Alone.
It would be, yeah.
You know, and like all that stuff has to be fun. But even buying parts now. Like, we used to have 3 credit cards. We've 3 credit cards in the company that we would say buy a main dealer part that we're not dealing with a main certain dealer.
You wouldn't have an account with them, like.
Yeah, exactly. And we used to, our credit card bill used to be 3,000 and 4,000. Now, given we have grown, right? But as we grew, we added another credit card. So they used to be 3, and then it was 6. Now we're spending like 15 grand a month on parts on credit cards.
On credit card, that's from, and obviously you use probably, I don't know, Eurocar parts or Top Part or whoever.
Top Part will be our main.
One, yeah.
And then like, you're another tens of thousands a month with them.
Yeah.
You know, like we probably spend around 100 grand a month on parts.
Would you? Yeah.
Yeah. But we've a big operation.
You have a big operation, yeah.
Like we're repairing 300 to 400 cars a month.
Jeez, that's a fucking fair bit, isn't it? Yeah.
But that's all we do.
Yeah.
That's our job. And I say, but so all that money that you put out there, it all has to be managed. You know, it has to be good in. You have to make sure, like, wages have to be there Friday. Top Part payment has to be there. you know, dealers have to be paid, credit cards have to be there. And like that takes managing. And as you grew your own business, like it used to be very simple when you pick up a phone and say, yeah, I'll take them 3 cars off you.
It was so easier, and I'm always, and you're probably the same as like you're trying to always get to the point. It's like you see your overheads going up, and the money you're making is going up as well. But it's like a constant kind of a trying to find the sweet spot. And it's like, well, do I really want my overheads going up more, and then having to be chasing my tail, having to make more money and everything? You're trying to get the sweet spot as to
it's very difficult.
Like with the current setup you have, are you happy with the amount of, let's say, would you like it a bit smaller? Would you like it a bit bigger, or are you happy with your kind of?
No, so for us, what I have found is if you don't keep growing, you can't keep ahead of your overhead. Because your overhead will,
you have to keep growing. Yeah,
will keep coming up behind you. It's chasing you all the time, right? And you have to be on this side, slightly ahead of it, and you have to just keep pushing more and more. And now some of that, what we would do, we would a better quality of work, a better customer, you know, more valuable work, more regular work, that sort of stuff. So we have to keep growing. And so does any business, but they just might know. Different if you're working out one man, side of his house, doing a couple of services a day.
If you're
and no employees, no team behind you, like very different. But if you're going to be in a 2, 3, 4 man garage, you need to keep growing. You
have to, yeah. There's no point in. It's like I've said it to Paul, the other Paul there, and I said it to all the lads. It's like, geez, I'd love. Last year was a cracking year. I was really happy with the money we made and everything like that, and it wasn't too stressed, and it was nice and all that. But now my overheads are going up this year for a variety of reasons, and I was like, well, I've no choice now but to grow again. Like we have to continue making more money. I was like, you can't just keep things at a plateau because your expenses won't stay level either. Ever. Your expenses are going to keep going up. So therefore you have to be chasing and growing.
But your own, if you look at your own household, and this goes for whether you're the boss or you're one of the team on the floor, like everything gets dearer.
Everything gets
dearer. I have 3 young kids. Yeah. And the bigger they get, the more expensive they get. That's just the way it is. So and I'm not hard on money. Like I drive a Volkswagen Caddy. That's my I bought a 630 BMW there recently, and it's sitting in the yard. But we bought it for content and just to do a bit of work like that. But I drive a Skoda Kodiaq is our family car, right? But the house keeps getting more expensive. We still do the same thing. I'll go on one holiday a year, but the overhead in the house gets more expensive. Well, I have to earn more. If I have to earn more, we have to turn over more. You know, and everyone, doesn't matter what you do in life, that's the way it is.
It's so true, though, isn't it? Like, you know, and I think as well, like you have to constantly be fine tuning, and it's a very key business skill that not enough people have as well. You have to be able to see what you're doing and do more of the things that's making you more money, and less of the things you're making fuck all on. And a lot of people don't have the self-awareness enough even to realise that. Like.
That's right. And yes, it's very important to be making sure your community is looked after and all that local stuff,
of course.
But you have to do the stuff that makes you money and knock on that door, you know. And if you don't, it leaves you and goes somewhere else.
That's it. Like, but in order to, if you have to focus in your business on actually making money as possible. You can't do anything else unless the place is making money. You can't expand. You can't look after your staff. The business itself has to be generating good money, right? Because you can't. I sponsor plenty like local teams and everything like that, and I do that. I wouldn't be able to do that unless we were making a lot of money from buying and selling cars in the workshop and everything like that as well. You know, I pay the lads well. I do. no, but everyone's well looked after, and but you can't do that. I wouldn't be able to do any of these things unless the product that we were selling and the business that we were in was generating a good bit of money. So you have to look after that first and foremost. You really do.
Oh, that's the engine.
Everything else will
that's the engine room.
Because that funds everything else. Like, do you know what I mean? And it makes everything else just, I suppose, work as good as possible. So like, that's such an important thing. Like.
Well, what I found was, so when we were small, I remember myself and Sean started back in 2011, and I was mechanic and doing all the tires, and I had a tow truck. I was going out in the middle of the night towing cars out of the ditch, whatever it took to make money, right? And genuinely, that's whatever it took. But then, as we started getting better at it, the tow truck got pushed aside, and it sat in the yard, and it took me about 4 years to sell it because I love that stuff, right? But there was no money in it. Right? So instead of going out and doing a couple of €200 jobs in the tow truck, I was doing probably €100 an hour GP in the workshop, right? And keep banging away at that. And then I bought a second-hand 4-poster ramp, and we put it in. And now I had 2 ramps going. So if this one was blocked, I was onto the other one. And I was doing more advanced. So then I went out and I got a fleet, right? And now I started banging away every week, money in every month. There was 12 transits. I knew them inside out. I could do jobs on them really efficiently, and started growing. But then I moved in 2014 into part of the workshop I'm in now. And I don't know if you've seen our workshop. It was 11,000 square foot. There's 12 ramps in it now. There's another 2 coming.
Yeah, I just seen it in the background of your videos.
It's a big unit. But we moved into 3,000 square foot, 3,600 square foot of that. So a third of it. And I had no money left. Right? All the money I'd built up in the business, I spent moving in there. And then I lost my mechanic that I'd taken on. So I was moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And we moved in there, so I expanded. So then Damien came on board. He was a friend of mine. He worked in Fingless Ford for 20 years. They went bust. And he actually was doing an XR one Saturday. And I says, come over. I need to pick up a car, a Hyundai Santa Fe. And I said, I know what's wrong with it. The EGR is taking on it. So I went over. I said, we don't need to tow it. I said, you drive my van back. And he says, maybe I'll come and work with you. And I said, sure, come and be part of it. And I sold him the part of the business. And then we started really focusing on the fleet stuff and the better customer.
That's
better
such
customer.
Yeah.
The customer that wants to look after their car, that's reasonable and fair. Because I'm reasonable and fair. And that's who I want to deal with. Right? And if something goes wrong, we just put up our hands. We just say, we'll fix that. No problem. Right? If it's not my fault, I won't fix it.
Yeah, of course.
Like the same as if you're in trouble, I'll help you. But I won't be responsible for someone else's problem. And then what we done, we took on an apprentice, and Damo trained him. We were all on the spanners at that stage, and Sean was in the office, and it just grew and grew. But focusing on the stuff that made us money was what put us where we are now.
Yeah, and you're saying like is a lot of the fleet stuff. You saying that's good stuff, like
it is for us because we know how to fix it and we know how to charge for it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and that's the long and the short of it.
But you have to focus on, even for, I suppose, more so, like lads in the workshop, Richard would often be trying to move away from the customers that try and bring in their own parts, for example. Like that'd be one.
Oh yeah, we just say no.
We're not doing it anymore. Like, but there's some people that just want everything done on as cheap as possible. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, everyone's after a good deal. We all get that. Like, but you don't want customers that are just wanted everything as cheap as possible. You will not make. Is this for your own sanity and for business? It's not worth it. Like,
and you see them on TikTok.
Oh, I geez.
Like I put up a video the other day, and what was it about? It's about diagnosing.
Was it? I seen it because your man, you know, Jack Martin.
And someone said to me, someone actually tagged me and said, and the same fella,
Zyron boy or something like that. Yeah.
He's dead to me. And I just said, like, and I explained, like, because I think one of the big problems we have in the motor trade is people don't explain why we do what we do or how much we charge what we charge, and it's very black and white. Like if you go into, I went in to buy them donuts. I didn't start arguing with your man. It only took you 10 minutes to make them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so people don't understand, and that guy is a good example. He hasn't a clue how a car works.
No.
Right? He can't fix his own car, but yet he feels he knows. But if I brought him into the workshop and say, "Here you go,"
I insist. You know better.
There's all the equipment. You work away. I bet you couldn't fix that car. So, trying to explain, using his anger, gives me content to explain to people who actually want to learn why we do what we do.
Yeah.
You know.
And I suppose that brings us roundly or neatly into TikTok and social media stuff. You, how long are you doing it? How long are you doing the TikTok videos? Is it TikTok or main medium, or do you use like Instagram?
No, TikTok is all, and all I do, like all I do is really TikTok, and then what I do is I upload onto Instagram, which uploads onto Facebook.
Yeah.
But I've only started that this year.
The Instagram stuff.
Instagram.
How long are you doing TikTok then?
TikTok, I think it was 22. I started. 23. When was Rugby World Cup?
23, I'd say.
Yeah, 23. Just before the Rugby World Cup, I just started pushing into it.
And like, what I found about TikTok as well, I started doing it 2 and a bit years ago maybe. But years ago when it first came out, it was just like, all 15-year-olds are on it, all young people. There's people of every age group on it now. There's 70-year-olds on it now.
Unbelievable.
Do you know what I mean? And it's the reach you get out of it. Like there's nothing. I'm in business 6 years. We're doing a lot of Instagram mainly at the start. Got in TikTok a couple of years ago, but now whenever people see you, it's like, I seen your TikToks, I seen your
right,
so, and I'm sure you get the same.
You get lads shouting at you, van windows. Love your TikToks.
You love your TikToks, yeah. TikTok. But like the amount of time people must spend on it, like I use it for business, and I use it for putting videos out there and all that. Like, but I don't waste hours of my day scrolling on it. Like, so some lads do, like, fair enough. But people do spend a lot of time on it.
I'd find, like, I tell you what I spend time. I spend time looking at the comments that are on.
A lot of your videos are replies to comments, aren't they?
That's right.
Yeah.
Because I'm really busy, and same as you.
Yeah.
And I just use their comments, like, because that's the question someone wants answered.
It is, yeah, and you're answering it. It's not just, chances are for a lot of these questions that come up, other people are interested in the response as well.
That's right.
Or even if it's someone that's trying to someone leaving a shitty comment, people want to see your response to it anyway.
Yeah.
Because there's people, I find with the negative stuff as well, like, you know, most people now are wise to the people leaving these comments are fucking idiots, like, you know, they are, like, you know, let's call a spade, like, so most people see these little petty nobodies, like, you know what I mean, like,
but like, I always found that, like, the fella who does that wouldn't stand in front of you and say it.
They wouldn't.
You know, like,
A person, what's that solicitor's name? Is it? I can't remember, but
Terry Gurry.
Yeah, that's
very good. I was actually watching him this morning.
Yeah. He was like, if a man can't even put their own name behind a comment, that holds no weight whatsoever. Like,
yeah, and
it's so true.
I played rugby for years, and I had a rule when I played rugby. If you hit me, you got hit back.
Yeah.
that was just the way it was. No, I wouldn't hit you first.
Yeah.
But if you hit me, you got hit back.
That's fair enough, yeah.
And, as I say, and that's why you've probably seen some of my stuff firing back at people.
Yeah.
But sometimes I fire back with a smart comment. But sometimes I'd say really lifestyle stuff, like mental health stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't suffer, thank God. But I know loads of people who suffer.
No, plenty do, like,
and
yeah.
dickheads like that need to be addressed. And it needs to be pulled up and said,
I just find with some of these comments, like, what are you getting out of this, like, you know what I mean? And a lot of it is it's their own internalized, like, anger and bitterness at life, and they're venting it through the veil of anonymity, like, you know, they can hide behind their little anonymous profile.
It's the inability to take responsibility for their own problems.
100%, yeah.
That's what it is. Like, I done a big cycle last year around Donegal, and it was 333 kilometres, right? And
Jesus Christ, I'd be dead.
19 hours and 38 minutes it took me. Now, I'm 130 kilos. I'm a big lump of man, right?
You've watched 330 kilometres?
333, yeah.
All in one go?
Yeah, all in one go, yeah.
19 hours?
Started at 5:30.
Jeez, you lunatic.
It's 5:30. And there was lads who done it in 10 hours. Right? It took me 19, but I didn't stop. Right? And
19 hours? Jeez, your arse must have been fucking fair sore.
there's a lot of meat on it now, to be fair. But
yeah.
Like, but I tell you, you learn, like, I do a lot of long distance stuff, right? And now I'm not fast on a bike, but I spend a lot of time on my own because, you know, if you think somebody, do you want to come for a cycle? Where are you going, Carlo? No, you're grand.
Would you cycle that far regularly, like?
I will, yeah. I do. I haven't. So I'm ramping up now. So I'll be into 2, 3, 4 hours. I'll be into 8-hour cycles now on a Sunday morning soon.
Jesus.
And but you learn an awful lot about yourself.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you have a lot of time to think, don't you?
Yeah, and like, I go out and I'd find that you'd argue with yourself for the first hour, then you argue with everyone else in the second hour.
Yeah.
And then by the third hour, you have all this sort of ironed out, right? But when I was doing Donegal, I was going up around the top left corner of Ireland, and it lands on your right and on your front. And it's so harsh. Like, doing 20 km/h headwind, the sea is hitting you, with rain, and you're cold, tired, probably 6 or 8 hours into this. But you just keep going forward. And all of a sudden you get over it. And that's what them lads can't do. They haven't that ability to say, hold on, I picked this. I said I was going to do it. So keep going and get it done. But instead they come and they hide behind the screen on a fake name and fucking abuse a lad selling cars or a lad fixing cars or some other poor devil.
You just look at them as like, well, I know for a fact you're at nothing in your own life, because anyone that I know that's at anything doesn't carry on like that.
That's right, yeah.
And the reason why you're hiding behind that anonymous profile is because deep down you do know that that's a loser thing to do.
Yeah,
and you would be embarrassed if your co-worker or your so-and-so or
that's
whoever
right.
found out you're doing it. Because like that's loser carry on. No one wants to be seen to do that. And plus, if you met me on the street, you wouldn't say boo to me.
No,
do you know what I mean? Because none of
look
them
at the ground.
Yeah, look at the ground. They're little pussies, like, do you know what I mean? And it does. And like you just touched on there a while ago, like it doesn't. It's water for ducks back. To be honest, I'm happy to get the attention. I don't care. Like.
Yeah,
But you know what I mean. I'm strong mentally. We'll say as are you. But like it could bother some people.
Really hurt someone.
It could really hurt some people. Like you know.
Because some people look into this and look out at someone else's life that's probably not in a great place either, but everything's positive, and they can't get over that.
Yeah.
You know, and like I often have people say to me, normal sound people just say, "Geez, how do you put up with that shit?" You know,
people say to me the whole time.
And like if someone really annoys me, I just go block. Like, and
there's a couple now. Do you know the people that are really nasty? Like, I do block a few of them now.
Oh yeah,
right? There's some that are just ridiculous.
And like someone said, like with some of the comments I make back at people, are you not afraid you'll get cancelled? Cancelled.
You're right. Again, so
I'm not even that popular.
Yeah.
You know,
you have to be popular to get cancelled.
But like get cancelled. What's that even mean?
mean?
You know, and but this is what's in people's heads.
I'm really afraid if I can say anything. Like,
you know.
But it's no, I'm genuinely fascinated by how some people's mind works. Like, you know, it's like what's going on in your head? What turmoil is going on in your head that you have to say that on? You're giving out about the content I'm putting out. Well, you put out obviously no content because you're afraid to do it and you're too useless to do it. Yeah. And then you're giving out about me, who's just trying to run a business and try and put myself out there. Like,
I often see you or Jack Martin. You know, when you put up a car and you say it's 18,000. Oh, that's only worth 12.
Oh, yeah. Is there $5,000 in the boot? No matter what car I put up, no matter what car it is, no matter what price it is, it's always way overpriced. Jesus Christ.
But they're going to pay $4.50 for a coffee.
Yeah, of course they will. I was like, right, lad. Okay. Do you know what? All these cars are making 30 grand. I would sell it for 30 grand, but you know what? I'm going to sell this one for 17 because that's what the price should be, and I'm going to lose my absolute bollocks on it.
Yeah.
But because this lad on TikTok now says I shouldn't be selling things at the market price, like
it's bananas.
It is mental. But well, like that's the negative of it, I suppose. What have you got from a positive point of view? Like,
I got loads of sound people that just interact with me, and I get a buzz out of that, and we get cash from all over the country now. You know,
I feel like it's when people see your stuff online the whole time, and you get it as well. I'm sure, like the people, they get a certain element of this fella seems like a decent fella. It's trust, like, you know what I mean? I come across as honest as possible. I know you do as well, and people appreciate that. Like, people don't like polished sales gimmicks and marketing kind of stuff. They want just raw you.
That's right. And I edit nothing. So when I do a video, like I could be doing it myself, or I could be walking through the workshop and see one of the lads doing something. So, this is interesting. Let's go look at this. Bang, bang, bang. Hashtag post gone.
Yeah.
And then on to my next job.
Yeah.
I finished the job I was doing. You know, we get. There's loads of garages contact me, you know, and positively too. Like, and like I'd help them out if I can help them out, you know, or give a lad rang me yesterday about a problem from the other side of the country, about a problem in EGR on a master.
Well, you put yourself out there explaining different problems and how you go about it and everything. So you're seen, and obviously you are, but like you're seen online as being a knowledgeable person in that area. So therefore, and they can see. I tell you who I'll ring David, the service staff fella now. He might be able to help. Like, there's probably 20 or 50 or 100 other people in the country who can help too. Right. But you're the guy that they see, like.
And there's probably better guys out there. You know, there's definitely better guys out there. You know, but that's just because we've opened the window. And the other thing it does is it has helped our garage, it's helped other garages around us, and it lifts people. Like it motivates people to do better. You know, I'd always say, like, I do well. I work hard for me. The same as you should work hard for you. You should work hard for you. No one else. You should want to do a good job, and that comes through in TikTok, you know, and social media.
No, it does. Like, yeah. And have you? I suppose you found the networking side of things and making contacts. That's nearly been as beneficial as the extra business, has it?
Yeah. So it's helped us.
Because I'm sure you don't need much extra business. Like, most busy workshops are. You're going to be busy anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, like we would have 30 oaks sitting in the yard waiting all the time.
Would you?
Yeah, all the time. And if I'm more parking, I'd have 50. Right, that's reality. We turn over, but again, I said we can fix the stuff, and that ability drives that has got us to where we got. TikTok hasn't got us to that, but what it does is it opens up loads of, like, I had a guy contact me there one day in a workshop, and he goes, if you ever need any, you know, help with this brand, he says, I work here. You know, you get that. It's
that's exactly it, and I think that's nearly from doing social media stuff. Like, it's it's the doors it opens for you as
Yeah.
well. And like again, I wouldn't have been talking to you otherwise. And I'm really enjoying this chat, and I'm learning lots off you, like and everything like that. And it's doors, it's networking, it's opening doors for you, and you get opportunities. Like if I buy and sell cars, but like I've got talking to so many different other traders. There's been a few garages up the north, let's say for example, or even just dealers saying, "Listen, seeing you on TikTok, would you be? I see you sell a lot of those type of cars. Would you be interested in this?" I was like, "Jesus, I would." Like, yeah, but the amount of like even people in the motor trade that I'm in contact with, or people that. Let's say, for example, we had a car that was broken down in Galway, and there was a local garage up there. Oh no, sure, I seen Paul. I seen you on TikTok, Paul. Yeah, no bother. We'll help you out. Like, sure, I know who you are. Sure, I love your videos and all that. And it opens that kind of door. Obviously, then as well, like it does help with getting extra leads. And now, like you don't sell too many cards from getting a private message on TikTok. Like, do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So. The leads are weak enough off it, but it's the brand awareness, and it's the I seen you there. Now that I'm thinking of it, yeah, I will give you a shout when I need you for something else, like, but it's you've probably like met a load of people through it, have you?
Well, so I'd be big on relationships. I like having relationships with people, and I like selling people and just get on. And I think one thing that's done for us is like it's open. Like I have a good buddy in Cork sells cars, right? And his buddy has a garage, and I was down there a couple of weeks ago. My parents-in-law live in West Cork, so we were going down to West Cork, and I went down to. I ran out of diesel actually. If you watch
you
the
from
video.
Cork? Yeah.
No, I'm a Dub.
I was wondering. I was like, yeah.
And no, they're from Dublin, but their great aunt or something had a house in Cork, and when she died, Jill's parents bought the house, and they went up and down for holidays and stuff.
Yeah,
but they moved down there in 2019, I think.
Oh yeah, okay.
And
Nice area of the country. Lovely, West Cork's lovely. Yeah.
I'd say down in Cormac-Sherry, that's class.
Oh, that's lovely down there. Yeah, it's really nice.
And but I was driving down, and I ran out of diesel in the van. Right?
Should have bought an EV.
Yeah. Well, first time I ever had range anxiety when I felt that bump, And but I just picked up the phone, and to the buddy of mine in Cork who's a tyre business, and he goes, "Oh yeah," and he goes, everyone's going to know you. So the lad from TikTok's after running out of diesel on the in the van.
Did you have your service stop T-shirt on?
Oh, I have my big master van with service stop all over the side of it. And but these things happen. A good life. But I was able to just pick up the phone and bang. Within 45 minutes, I was back on the road. What are the chances? Almost zero if you didn't have contacts. And good relationships,
It's great though, isn't it?
It's class. I love it.
Do you enjoy putting out content as well? Like, do you enjoy doing videos, or is it more of a kind of you don't mind doing it, or you just do it?
So I only do. I tend. Okay, I do a few barbecue videos because I like barbecuing, right? And it just drives a bit.
Wrong with that.
It just drives a bit of content.
Yeah. People seem to like some other stuff. You do something other than what you're.
That's right.
People like to see you as a person as well.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You're a real person. Like,
you're a real person.
Like running out of these. Like, you want to see you go and find that video and read the comments. It's hilarious, right? And then I get this guy who contacts me and he's like, yeah, I wouldn't let you work on my car. You couldn't even fill your own yoke of diesel. And I was like, this is a problem. I just wrote back. I says, that's great. We never have to talk again.
Yeah. I wouldn't buy a car off. I certainly wouldn't buy a car off you. Grand, good.
Yeah. And but so you have all this funny stuff that happens.
Yeah.
And it just leads for good stories and a bit of cracking over a few points or whatever. It's but it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
I enjoy putting out content. I enjoy sort of educating people and training people and teaching people. That's I put out loads of videos about garage stuff.
Would you like, I suppose, where do you want to be in like 5-10 years time? Would you like to move more so into? Do you still like being a workshop like owner?
Oh
like,
yeah. So
is that your passion? Like,
yeah. So my plan is to build that workshop to 10 million in turnover a year. Mm-hmm. Right. It'll be. I'd say by the end of this year we'll be close to being one of the biggest independents in Ireland.
I'd say so. Jesus, that's fucking huge.
We hope to have. The plan is to have about 20 to 25 people by the end of 2025.
Been to this year?
Yeah.
Is it scoring at that scale already, isn't it?
Yeah, we have capacity, I'd say. But we keep getting better at what we do.
Yeah.
So like my job is resourcing the place, making sure there's enough work, looking at the systems and stuff that, like, how are we repairing that? Because I'm good at that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So I can go and I can look and say, how are we doing that? Okay, let's try this. And we'll take a job and I'll go with one of the guys and we'll start working and trying to make it better. Right? And then,
so you think your biggest strength would be like kind of like workshop efficiency and just kind of getting the best out of each lad and getting the best out of
and teaching the guys how to understand and make decisions themselves. Because if a guy makes a decision when he's working on something himself, and he doesn't walk over to the workshop manager, you're 10 minutes further on that job than you are if he goes and asks someone else. You know, and God forbid he goes to the workshop manager and he makes a decision that delays that job for another hour or two.
Yeah.
Right? But if he makes a decision and goes bang, 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 it makes it more efficient. And teaching guys to how the vehicle works will bring more efficiency, because then they go, oh, well, that works like this, and this, and okay, this is the path we're going to take. I think that would be the plan, but I don't know. It could all fall on its face. Who knows? Well, it won't be for the lack of trying. It won't be for the lack of trying.
But because I suppose like you're doing a lot of like almost like advice and kind of giving other lads guidance, because I seen you did a video there recently and you were just giving advice on someone running a workshop, and this is a video to other business owners and things like that, or garage owners,
because I keep getting asked these questions.
But that's it, like, but do you enjoy kind of
well, I think like a rising tide lifts all boats.
That's it, like,
right, so like we do some stuff very well, we do other stuff not so well, but the stuff we do well we know works because we're growing and we're profitable and we're making money. Yeah. So if we encourage more people to do that stuff, it lifts everything and it makes it better for everyone in the chain. It makes it better for the consumer, it makes it better for the workshop owner, it makes it better for the mechanic, right? And all the other guys within the system, because then their earning potential is more. And if their earning potential isn't enough, we won't have them. And we proved that already. Like after 08 was the big recession, right? The garages let go all the apprentices. It was a disaster. And they kept mechanics, because I ended up working in Finglesford for 28,500 euros. And I'm not blowing my own trumpet here, but I am highly skilled. Right? You could have given me any car with any problem and I could have fixed it. But because there was no workshop, there was no jobs, that's what they done. They took advantage of it, and all the apprentices let go. And then loads of guys left and went to Australia. And then loads of really product experts that used to be in dealers weren't looked after. And they either went to Australia or they went to Intel, or I'm sure there's pharmaceuticals down here as well.
I think what happened, like you were saying, 28,500, that was during the recession and all that. A lot of garages then, what they did, when we started coming out of the recession in 15, 16, 17, let's say, for example, they tried to take advantage of mechanics for even longer again.
That's right,
and pay them pittance for as long as possible. And by the time now, I think the last 2 or 3 years now, everyone realizes, okay, you have to pay them well because you won't get them otherwise. You can't pay a fucking qualified mechanic 35 grand a year, like, you know what I mean? No. You won't get them, like. But like But by that stage, it was gone too far, because what's happened then, a lot of these lads, they upskilled in different areas. They went into the pharmaceutical factories. They went over to Australia.
Or they just walked.
Or they were just fed up with it, like. But the damage was done then at that stage. And now a lot of the good mechanics have already left at this stage.
And I was still on the floor, so I still had them scars, right? So I didn't want to treat lads like that. And we sat back and looked at it. And I would be good to take time and stand back and say, where are we going here? And I started training apprentices. And now we're not looking for any mechanics. Now I have gaps.
Yeah.
Right, but that's different. Like, guy moves on. Like, we had one guy, he moved on there a couple of weeks ago. He was with us 4 years. He's in his 50s. He wants an easier life.
Yeah, fair enough.
And like we sat and we had a conversation. I was like, look, if this job doesn't work out, go do this. You know, if you want to be away, go do this.
Yeah.
And then we have gaps. So I'll just fill them gaps. But it's all coming up behind us. It's like a football club. If you have a good youth section in a football club, your first team eventually will be strong. But you have to keep that, feeding that all the way through. Because you're going to have lads drop off. You're going to train people that you don't like. And you're going to let them off.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have guys who get qualified and just move on straight away. And I say, then you're going to have some guys who just love it and they're going to stay with you, and you need to really look after them and drive them in the business and teach them the business. And that's one of the big mistakes I think garages made too. Our guys can go in and they can look at our numbers. They can see how much turnover, how much gross profit, how much labour was sold this month.
Yeah, that's it. I'm big on transparency as well. Yeah, like, I'd be freaking transparent on TikTok, never mind. But I'd
be the same.
But I'd be to everyone, to all the lads working here as well. Like, we all know how much money we're making on particular cars, to how much the workshop profit made in the week and everything that, and we discuss it openly, like, you know. And I think, if everyone is kind of on the same page and everyone is like I'm not trying to, they know I'm an open book, like, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to hide anything from anyone, and even online I make no bones about it, like that I'm a businessman and I'm here to make money, like, you know what I mean? Like, but like not at the expense of everything else, don't get me wrong, but like I think that kind of approach is good for business, and it's good for like it allows everyone to kind of pull with you, I think, more so.
If you don't know what you're working for, like I'd be big on setting goals.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I always
big on setting goals. And like I like that cycle race last year, like that was like I was 20 stone, unfit when I decided I was going to do that. And then I went and set out the plan, set the goal, then I set out the plan, and I hit my targets on the way, and we changed the plan as we went, and I got the job done. Right? So the business is no different. So when you sit down and you look at stuff, you're gonna find Volkswagen Golfs are a disaster. They come back X, Y, and Z. But you still forward them on the. Obviously Volkswagens aren't a disaster.
Yeah,
but for example, but you still have to just change the plan and move to the next phase. But the end goal has to be what you're chasing.
And do you set like yourself? You said about the turnover or staff by the end of this year and turnover. Like, do you set goals for your business every year? Have you usually hit the goals?
Every year.
Surpass them?
Yeah. Yeah, generally.
Yeah, no.
But I set realistic goals, and I have a great bunch of guys working with me, and they all want to hit their goals because they benefit financially, and obviously the business grows. When we say we're going to do something, we do it. We don't not do it. And loads of guys make promises, and all sorts of business, not just the garage business. They make promises and promises and promises, and they don't deliver. They make a false promise to someone to achieve a goal.
Waste of time.
And then don't reward them, and then wonder why people aren't happy in their job. Like all my guys bounce in the morning and they go have a cup of tea with each other, and they all walk into the workshop at 8:30. Let's go, lads.
It's good though. You want to create a work environment that doesn't feel like work sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you want to create a place that people don't mind coming in every day. Like, I've been in jobs before years ago. Like, but you come in the morning and you almost have a sinking feeling. like, you know what I mean? Sometimes or I don't want to have this.
And if you have that feeling, just change it.
Just change it, like,
it's not worth. Life's too short.
Like, we have a laugh in here most days. You can have a laugh. You can get on well with everyone, and you can still get work done. You just can't, like, you know what I mean? Like,
and that's the other thing. And it's for growth. It's very important. Like we'd be working on stuff and like fuck ups, right? And they happen in every garage in the country. That's just a fact.
Oh, they did.
Right now we have a completely open book policy. We've done this to your car. This is what's going to need to be done. It's not going to cost you any money, but we have hooked up. And we've done it. But then I talked to the technician about it. Like we've where someone's done a massive job in the yoke. They haven't put oil in the gearbox. Right? €6,000. But that's the game.
Yeah.
That's the game. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And
have you had big fuck ups? Many of them, without going into specifics, but you'd have the odd one. Like.
No, we turn over 300 or 400 cars a month.
There's going to be the odd mistake.
Like the law of averages says.
Oh, no, we're the same.
You're going to have problems.
Even the best mechanics can make mistakes.
And we have really good processes. But then, like, in that situation where there was a problem with the gearbox, right? When I sat back and I looked, before, I was actually standing in the workshop looking at the car, and I was like, and the mechanic came over to me and says, David, I says, just leave me think. Right?
Give me a minute.
But I looked at that. And then when I went back into the office and I pulled up all the jobs he was on that day. And it was partly my fault. Because he was on 3 big jobs at once. Where what should have happened was he was on that job, there was a delay, right? So I put him on another big job, or we put him on another big job. And then there was a delay, and then we put him on another big job. So he had 3 big jobs going on. How is he ever going to remember to do everything?
Yeah.
Right?
No,
so it was my fault, essentially. So I called him, I before he went home, I said, you're not in trouble, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't want him going home and making himself sick worrying.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he wasn't in trouble, it was an accident.
Yeah.
And he came in, I said, come in to me for a minute, and we were chatting about it, and he says, I'm really sorry. He says, I can't believe it on that. He said, I know what I'll do. He says, I'll have it written down, everything, on my checklist. I'll make sure I write it down. I said, that's fine. I says, just don't let it happen again.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, grand. But we suffer that pain. And you just have to be able to, if you want to grow, you have to allow that.
No, you do.
You can't go in roaring and shouting. It's not gonna benefit you. It's not gonna benefit you.
No, 100%. If you were to give like maybe 3 or 4 tips, like on what's the best like tips you for running a workshop, we'll say, or running a service business at the size you do, like what are the key things to remember?
For any service, for any business.
Yeah. What's important that you find?
Number one, know how much it costs you every hour, not day, not week, per hour.
Yeah.
Right, and that should include every overhead, including
what gets measured gets managed.
Yeah,
as the saying goes. Yeah.
And if you don't know how to do that, pull out your bank statements for the last 3 months, and every payment that's gone out of that bank that's not for a parts supplier or something like that, they're all your overheads. And just one line, and just work through that, put it in a spreadsheet, and divide it by the number of days worked. That'll tell you how much your cost is. Number 2, don't be afraid to charge, because most people are. And don't be afraid to put in front of the customer what the rules are.
Yep.
This is what we're going to do for your car. This is how much it's going to cost you. Are you happy to do that? Yes. Okay. This is how we have to be paid. Very simple. And Chat GDP will write a script for you. You don't even have to do it yourself. You don't even have to go. I'll say I'm badly dyslexic. I use this stuff all the time. 3. Have the right people around you.
Yeah, that's key, isn't it?
Have the right people around you. Don't work with people you don't like, because it's like there might be nothing wrong with them. You just mightn't gel.
If you have a bad apple in the place,
if you wouldn't have a pint with them, if I couldn't have a pint, lads, I don't want to be with them.
To be honest, I kind of hire people like that as well. Like,
yeah.
I haven't took on anyone now in a while, but I don't think anyone's left for maybe a year and a half. There's been no one really. It's been fairly. You've been here a year and 3 months. Like no one's gone since you. But whenever I'm interviewing someone, like half of it, it's like obviously I'll ask them about their experience and this and that. Like, but like I genuinely wouldn't take on someone that I wouldn't get on with.
Yeah.
Some people are just, or some people I feel here, like if you're not, you won't be a personality fit in this place, like because we make a lot of jokes here now. A lot of our jokes would be inappropriate. Let's say, for example, we have a few females working here as well, and like, but they're females that you can say stuff around and they won't get too offended. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they'll have the laugh, like, do you know what I mean? Andrea and Kaneman and all that, like they're sound out and there'll be no hassle. Like they won't get offended or. But I think it's very important that you have to kind of keep the same kind of culture in a place.
And it has to come from respect.
It does, yeah.
Right, and you have to respect them, and they have to respect you. And if you don't have that relationship, it's never going to work. It's like a marriage. You spend more time with these guys probably than you do with your wife.
100% do. Like, yeah, sure. You're here. I'm here about 50 hours a week. Like, do you know what I mean?
And the other thing I'd say is, don't work every hour God sends. You need to take time to look at your business. Yeah, but
some people just need to, as you know, the saying goes, you need to zoom out a bit. Like,
that's right.
You need to kind of look at things from
overhead.
Like
if you're a 1 or 2 man band and you own the place, on a Friday afternoon you should just stop by lunchtime Friday. You shouldn't do any more work. All you should do is walk around and have a look, but have a look with purpose.
Yeah, don't be just wandering around whistling like.
Yeah, have a look at stuff that's working really well. Have a look at stuff that's not working well, and measure important stuff.
Yeah,
measure important stuff.
Yeah,
right? It's but I think that's that. If you've done them basics, like most guys that contact me don't know how many hours they sell a week. Or the number. How much a mechanic should be making.
But like a lot of like we've a fairly detailed like kind of a dealer management system, like it's called Pinewood, but like it gives you every single metric you could want, like average profit per unit, average all your retail profit, this and that. It'll show you like the workshop, like the mechanics, which jobs they were working on, how long they were there, efficiency and all that. Like, but like at the scale we're at, like. And the scale you'd be at as well, you need that, like, and you need to know your numbers, like, because you'd be hemorrhaging money otherwise, like.
Yeah, but if you don't understand your costs at the start, like it's very hard. It'd be very hard to go for a run and not know the end destination, and keep yourself running. Yeah, because that's essentially what you're doing without knowing your costs. Yeah, and the cost, if you know your costs and have everything, your wages, the whole, even if you're one man band, wages, the whole lot in it. The only way you're ever going to scale that business is to know your costs and outrun them. Yeah. Because if you don't do that, you're at nothing. And most guys fail because of it. Like I say, we have guys contacting us there, and it's tough for them because they're really good mechanics. but they never were taught
They're
the
not,
business,
yeah.
the business end of it. It's like lads doing next. So I used to say to lads, like our apprentices would come in and I say, I don't mind you doing next. So you can, well, after 5:30, you can do what you like.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's whatever. Right? So we've no issue with you doing next. But I said, I do have an issue if you don't charge enough for them.
Yeah.
But if you think about the logic, he takes a cut to learn a skill, and then he sells it to someone who wants to treat him like a doormat.
Yeah.
Because they go to him because they think they're cheaper than me or you.
Yeah, no.
Right? So if you have an apprentice that's doing stuff for set a brake pads for 20 quid labour or 50 quid labour, he's nuts. He's nuts. Because all he's doing is devaluing it.
He's devaluing the trade in general, like, and the job itself, like.
But on himself. And this is what happens. Like, guys build up a nice group of guys fixing cars when they're in training. And they say, right, I'm going to go out on my own. But now,
and then they still have that mentality of just cheap.
But now you have an overhead, whether you believe it or not, because you have a tool spend of €1,000 a month. You have
total different.
You have insurance. You have VAT. You have
like, you might be happy to work for €20 an hour just by yourself, like, right? If you're grand, sure, Nixer in the evening training. That's fine. But you can't charge €20 an hour
and you've
running a business.
No, and you've no liability.
You've no liability. You've no fucking insurance. You've no anything. Like, you're just.
And
it's a big difference. Like,
and devaluing themselves. And that's the other thing I'd say is, don't let customers treat you like a doormat.
Yeah, a lot of people they don't, and I don't know, do they even realize they don't? But they don't have enough confidence in what they do. Like why often, like, we're not the cheapest for selling cars. If you will get it, you see a lot of cars we have. I'm sure you can go to a Dublin garage or somewhere up the country, and I'm sure there'll be the same model for $1,000 cheaper somewhere else. We don't aim to be the cheapest, but we're one of the best. We give long warranties, we give good warranties. The cars are prepped properly.
But they're paying for your product. But it's not the garages in Dublin product. It's a different product.
It's a good product. We give a cracking warranty on it. We're unbelievable, like 4.9 Google review. Out of Google, out of hundreds and hundreds of reviews. We sell a good quality product. We prep cars way better than most. I know we do, than most garages. But we don't have to be the cheapest. But I have confidence in the product that we're selling, and I know that you can buy a car off us. You can buy it in confidence. You won't be left in the lurch if something goes wrong. Yeah. I said we're not going to be gone next year. We're still going to be here in a year's time. Like, you know what I mean. And the product that we sell is excellent. So therefore, it's not going to be the cheapest. If you want the cheapest product, go somewhere else. Maybe we're not the garage for you if you just want the cheapest one in the country. Like.
Yeah,
but
and that's not the customer for you anyway.
That's not the customer for you. Like I said, you buy a car off us, and we're going to be fair with you on the trade-in when you come back in next year, and you're going to get a friendly service, you're going to get all those kind of things. But like, if you're doing all those kind of things, well, you can't afford to be the cheapest either, because there's a cost to it. Like, do you know what I mean? I think that's what a lot of people do. Like, but I think the best strategy to go on is to deliver a quality product and charging the correct price for it. Now, don't be undercharging for a quality product.
Funny, like, we've a couple of 1-star reviews on our Google.
Yeah, sure, everyone does.
Right? One of them was from a guy who only lasted a day and a half in the workshop. Right?
He was working with you?
Yeah, for a day and a half. But it just didn't work, right? But anyway, one of them was from here. He actually, go on and read it, but you need to be sort of tipsy or drunk reading it because it's not very logical. And the other was actually recently from a guy who priced something with us. We didn't see the car. We always say, and I'd say this to the guys in front of us, if they won't drop the car in for us to inspect, don't price it, because it's not just nuts and bolts. We have to see the car. And he didn't like the price, so he left us 1-star review and called us shady. because we priced something, gave him the price, and he didn't want to pay it. That he said he was getting it done for half the money with someone else.
Just leave him off.
Yeah, and so, but like, we would have used proper OE spec stuff.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We would have put properly together the torque to stuff back together the way it should go back. And he wants we're shady because he didn't like the price, because some lad was doing it, and it had to be an Nixer, because I actually listened back to the phone calls. We record our phone calls and
for quality and training purposes.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what we do. We keep them for 30 days. Do you know things like for us, like, the registration number is very important for us.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
right,
yeah.
And what happens is someone takes a registration number and gets it wrong, and then you can't get the customer.
Good point, actually. Yeah.
Right, so we pick up the phone and go, "Bye, yeah, you're missing a 9 out of that." Or whatever. And then, but they just get overwritten every 30 days.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, like, there's no value in them for us. But as I say, so that's the sort of people you deal with. And if you entertain people like that, the guy who fitted them that stuff for that car for 600 quid as against our €1,000, all he done was damage himself.
I know, yeah.
Because I've another 35 euros sitting in the yard.
It's grand. I'll be fine. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and it's that sort of thing. I think people. I think the garage independent garage space is a great place to be now.
And are you, like, I suppose, confidence going forward, like, for the next, like, are you confident about what you do going forward and what the motor trade in general is like for the next 10, 15 years? Like, what's your outlook like?
Yeah, very positive, to be honest.
What are the challenges that you think it might face, or if any?
Well, it's always challenges. The cost of repair.
Cost of repair.
Is a big challenge. And like people say, well, it's that's the customer's problem. But if the customer doesn't have the money, we don't have the money.
Because if they can't afford to pay it, there's no work.
Complexity of cars and the manufacturers locking out stuff, like
they are doing a lot of that now.
Yeah, and like we had one there recently, and we needed an ECU for it, and we couldn't get those. The ECU was back order from the manufacturer, and you couldn't clone. You couldn't clone the other old one, right? And it was only there was something wrong with some of the functions in the ECU. So it wasn't anything security related or that. It was just like the car would run, but it wasn't operating properly. And we couldn't get an ECU, and the customer ended up having to wait like 14 weeks. You know, simple stuff
things like that. Like, and
they're big challenges. Like BMW are producing a lot of EVs now, but they have a machine called EOS. It's end of service test for EV batteries, and if your BMW goes into BMW and they find a fault, it locks out the relays in the computer or in the EV battery, and you need an EOS test to produce a code to go back into EOS to unlock it after the repair.
Yeah.
But now the tests it does are very simple. The test the integrity of the battery connections and the vacuum, and so seal the battery unit sealed after. They could be done. Just Ryan Automotive will have machines on the shelf that you can buy.
Yeah.
But that EOS machine is €11,500, and they don't want to sell it to the aftermarket.
Of course they don't. Like, but they do.
If I decide I'm buying one of them, I will get one.
Yeah.
Right? But I have the resource to go and get one.
But a lot of places wouldn't. Like,
no,
you know what I mean?
And a small, say, BMW specialist, like these cars are coming.
Yeah. But you're going to need such specialist equipment for nearly every car in the years to come. That's the thing, like, and it's going to price out a lot of the smaller lads as well.
And that's where our garage will go over time. Is we'll probably pick 5 brands or 6 brands.
You think you'll have to in order.
Because the spend is so big.
Yeah.
Like we probably have 10 or 12 diagnostic computers.
Fucking hell.
We'd have 6 main dealer computers.
Yeah.
And the proper interface with the proper access, not something that's cloned.
Yeah.
These are full genuine access. We can do any software. And like another challenge I see is we had a Polo a while ago, and we done something to it, and we J519 module, which is a module on the dash, and we pulled the information. So we have no control over this. We go in and we program it. It pulls the information from Germany, downloads on the car.
Yeah.
Right. The car didn't work properly after it. Right. And we were like, right. So then we used an aftermarket tool. There was a lot of functions missing on the car. Now I don't know if someone had replaced something in that car before and that had caused a problem or what it was. But then we ran the customer and said, look, this is after happening, and explained, and that was all fine. Gave back, and he came back a couple of weeks later, he says, it's still missing this. And then we went back in and we reprogrammed it with the dealer tool. Car worked perfect. That's a challenge.
But that's
a real challenge. Like,
so the complexity and the manufacturer's not playing ball basically.
Well, the manufacturer,
and the cost of repairing, cost of parts, and also the cost of having the equipment to carry out the jobs with parts.
And like in that situation, like sometimes you can say software updates are going to be really important now. But you have so many guys deleting stuff and wrecking good cars.
Yeah.
Now it's a huge problem for you to take in a trade-in.
No, 100%. Like, yeah.
You know, and to be able to, like, you're going to have the ability to pull a file, send it to someone like Avon Tuning, and say, is this mapped or is it not? before you take it in, because all of a sudden you get a car and the EGR and the DPF and the
You
flaps.
haven't a clue what's working or what's not working or what's...
and then guys are deleting stuff and they're deleting the DPF and leaving the DPF in it.
No, there's a few, and then it's like, oh, I'm not sure what map was done on that car before, like, no, I don't know what's been done to that car, and you have to nearly reset the whole thing and start from scratch again to see what's actually not working.
And like we've all the mapping gear, because when we get a car with a complex fault, we plug in and we pull the file, right, so we can reload that file, because then we get the manufacturer's tool and we software update the car, and now you have all the codes back in the car, and then you start unscrambling the egg in terms of, well, the DPF is gone, the EGR is deleted, then you have to get that file analysed, and what happens is it escalates in cost really quick.
Sure does.
Because you're paying a third party to analyse the file to tell you what's been done, and then you're looking at the problem that was there in the car that stopped it for this time, and how the different things that have been deleted would affect it. But this is a real thing now.
It's so true.
Yeah, and workshops are going to have to specialise, and they're going to have that level of expertise.
I think it's just, but again, like, these things happen the whole time. Like, times change, times move on. You have to adapt to them. Things are going to get more complex. Tough shit, like, you know what I mean? Like I said, things are better in a lot of ways nowadays, but like in 10 years' time, things will be different again. Like, so look, just move with the times. There's still, despite all these challenges that you might say that are happening, there's still massive opportunities to be made, and there's huge opportunities, and like the motor industry is, from my point of view, I'm very confident about future, be it from the workshop point of view and also from sales point of view. Like I said, if you do your job well, like, there's always going to be people buying and selling cars, and there's always going to be people needed to be fixing cars. So I think once you do your job well and move with the times, because even since I started business 6 years ago, like, it's way different 6 years ago than it is now. Like, do you know what I mean? That's only 6 years. Like, the amount of, where I get my cars, how I sell my cars, where we advertise, all changed in 6 years.
And the customer you sell them to.
The customer you sell them to has changed. Like, and I change strategy nearly every 6 or 12 months as to what cars I want to buy. No, I'm not buying from any there anymore. No, I'm going to stay away from those cars. No, I'm going to do that. And I keep changing because it's live, like, you know what I mean? You need to keep moving.
Is your plan like that? So I go on holidays in May, and when I come back, I'll be like, loads of information, loads of ideas. And everyone go, oh no, here we go. And then I'm gung-ho till I go again next May, you know.
I'm kind of like that as well. That's literally, I come back from holidays and stuff like that, and I'm just like in early in the morning, and I'm like, right, go back after Christmas, and I'm just like,
nobody else is on the same way.
No. I'm 10 steps ahead, and everyone's like, how was Christmas? It's like, great, lads, come on.
Forget about that. Who's buying?
Yeah. Crap, fucking lads, we need a good month. Do you know what I mean? But it's just, again, you love what you do, I'm sure. Like,
I love it.
Yeah, but you have to be like, it doesn't feel, and no matter how much I work some days or some weeks, or, you know, and I don't work myself into the ground as much as I did for the first 2 or 3 years, but like, and I have a good life as well. Like, but like, you have to love what you do, and it doesn't actually feel like that much work, because I like coming in every day.
For the first 6 years, I never took a holiday.
Didn't you?
No,
I didn't for the first two
years. Do you know what happened to us actually? And it's an interesting thing as you grow, and you probably found it. So you start small, and there's a good living to be made, and you can make money and bank money, and then you move into the middle, and there's no money in the middle. It gets absorbed everywhere. You be in stock, opening your workshop, and you're turning over plenty of money, but you're just about getting by, and then you move either back or push through the pain.
I totally get it, and you get to the next point then, like, it's like, I'm okay again. Like,
so
we had a great year last year, but like, I don't feel like I had no fucking extra money in my bank account anyway, because I was buying a load of cars from Japan. So I was constantly sending money over to Japan.
That's exactly it. Tied up for 3 months.
I was like, I'm on paper, I'm supposed to be making good money, but I don't seem to have any money.
And I suppose this year we've made a huge jump. Like, we've done nearly half our turnover in the first quarter this year.
Really? Yeah, excellent.
But now we've added more ramps, more men.
Yeah.
Right. But we're in a space now where when we add a resource, we're adding to the bottom line.
Yeah. No, that's good.
But it's taken me.
It takes a good.
I'd say 10 years, or 8 years maybe of struggling.
Yeah.
Now I've done all right. We've increased our salaries every year. We've like everyone's done better every year out of the business, but it's probably taken 8 years maybe of what I would call hardship. To get to that point.
But it's but again, it's all about like a lot of business as well, it's kind of about the journey and kind of enjoying the journey.
Yeah,
And it's always
yeah.
like you're always thinking about next year and how ways you can improve and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's half the buzz of it, isn't it?
Oh
Like,
yeah, you have to look out. You
yeah,
have to look out
you do.
The long
yeah,
way,
yeah.
you know.
So it's no, it's a good buzz. The old journey of business. I think we're probably nearly over time now. How long are we?
Hour 44.
Hour 44. That's our longest one. Two lads that love chatting.
Yeah.
Listen, we leave it there. So listen, David, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Good man.
That was good. Enjoyed that.
Nice.